Paul Morrow here again. Welcome back to our Smart Financial channel. And we have a little podcast series called Nothing Good, which is nothing good happens last minute. We're in the planning business, and we're very happy to have Cynthia join us today. Cynthia is a health and wellness expert, and I am not. As I've said about 20 times in the book that I wrote on smart financial longevity, which we're going to refer to a little bit in one of my chapters there, I talk about mind, body, health. And believe me, I have like wafer thin, superficial knowledge of these things. But Cynthia, tell us about your career and your business and how you got your background in health and wellness. Tell me all about that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much. Yikes. Where do I start? Let's see. My background really is very focused on both mind as well as body. So what I mean by that is mental health as well as physical health. I studied psychology in college. I went off to get my master's in social work, and have always been very focused on mental health. So I've been coaching for probably about 25 years. And when I'm working with clients, I'm working on both mind and body. And so what I mean by that is I'm working on some very deep-seated issues, could be around stress, anxiety, depression, whatever it is that's mental health focused, as well as their physical, situation. What are they doing for self-care? What are they doing to strengthen their actual physical body, in terms of exercise, nutrition, supplements, whatever it is that we're talking about. So I would say I'm very focused on both aspects. I believe in looking at the whole person. Um, my business is very focused on education. So, for the past few years, I have been doing and designing webinars for companies all over the country. We present on topics that range, traditional wellness, meaning, eating for longevity, sleep strategies, lots of talks on menopause, lifestyle, and everything else, as well as mental health. So lots of presentations and webinars on burnout, resilience, stress management, and then also organizational leadership and organizational wellness. And what I mean by that is lots of presentations on topics such as leadership, corporate culture, management, and communication. So I'm kind of touching on quite a few areas of wellness, not all. One area I don't touch upon is financial wellness, which is your area.
It is my area, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do want to, I want to cut in a little bit because I know this is being recorded and I don't want people to get confused. And it looks to me like you borrowed Maria's iPad,
I
right?
did. Yes.
And I see her name there. So I just want to tell everybody, can you tell everybody your first and last name and how they find you before
Oh,
we
of
have
course.
folks looking for Maria, right?
Oh, sorry about that. I just
Yeah.
realized that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm out of my office today. So, let's see. My name is Cynthia Kro, and my business is called Work Well Webinars. So, I'm also a coach, so you can find me as Cynthia Wellness as well. But it's Work Well Webinars. And like I mentioned a little while ago, I'm presenting to companies all over the country, all types of companies, some small, some large. There could be as many as 200 or 300 people in my webinars. And they're all industries. I've done presentations locally for which you probably are very familiar with some of these places, such as I'm going to Boston College actually in a couple of days, where I graduated from. So excited to go back to my old stomping ground. And I've given presentations at Tufts University, UMass Medical School, and a lot of, large companies in Boston. And then I'm doing presentations also for assisted living centers in the area. I do lots of talks for the Willows in Westboro. I'm sure you know about the
Oh, I'm
Willows.
very familiar with that. Yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, we love the
Yeah.
Willows. But most of the companies I'm talking with really are not in New England. They're all over the country.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, tell me a couple things. In this little research project that I did, actually with the help of my wonderful wife, you've probably seen her online. Linda is my wife.
Yes.
My wife, my
Yes.
partner, my editor. She's a mom. She's a, and she's deep into like Pilates and healthcare. She actually just finished taking a health and wellness online course with that Harvard, online school thing. She's very into this
Yeah.
topic. So she helped
Great.
me. She helped me plow through the Stanford study on longevity.
Nice.
which was, that much paper to try to condense it down. And, this whole topic of mind body wellness is a big deal
Yeah.
because, it's called top-down management from between your ears, right, to the rest of your body. And I,
Yeah.
and I do think that the area that you're in is super important because it does affect people's longevity, right?
Does.
And tell me what your sort of thinking is, and this time in history, is it easier than ever because of technology to access health and wellness information, or are you being crowded out by, I don't want to say BS, but I could say BS, a lot of like, let's say fake news and bad stuff online that's not helpful?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably a little bit of both, honestly. I think that consumers of healthcare nowadays are doing more to try and understand their condition, which is great. Many times I know I do, before going in to see a doctor, I've done some research, right? And I've really tried to investigate. I think it's important to make sure that the sites you're looking at are reputable sites. So it's important as a consumer to be kind of wary of what information you're finding. Otherwise, you can just kind of get sidetracked and learn some information that maybe isn't accurate. But it's great. We are able to learn so much about our health and wellness. And I think that as Americans, we're trying harder. Americans are more interested in being healthy, and I can see it at all ages. I mentioned I get asked to talk at assisted living centers, and that's on the rise, no question. I get asked to talk at universities. I'm going to Boston College in 2 days, right? I was just at Tufts. College students, I have one of my own in college. I mean, college students are very interested in leading healthier lives as well. So I'm seeing it across the board, which is fantastic. I think people are realizing the importance of physical and mental wellness.
Is this something that you see that is you mentioned about all age levels, right? I've been in this financial industry for 50 years, and I've
Yeah, I
seen
read that.
I've seen the effect of affluence and financial stability dramatically. I mean, I've seen how it affects people's and their mental health and their whatever. Yeah. And I have to say that, there is a direct correlation in our industry and in this study, the Stanford study, between every little bit more of financial security as the ability to access more clean air, clean water, medical attention, mental health, whatever. It seems harder for people with modest economic means to access folks like you or other, health and wellness things. Nutrition, for instance, costs money, right?
Yeah.
Good food costs money, right? Have you
Yeah.
seen that? Have you seen that in your practice?
Yeah, I would have to say that. Yeah, I think it's true. But one thing that I do see, which is so fantastic, especially for what I do, right, is companies are more interested in educating their employees. Because when I'm doing my webinars, they're for organizations for the most part. They're for companies, right? So X, Y, and Z company will reach out to me, ask me to do a webinar. Sometimes it's all companies, sometimes it's whoever's interested in attending the webinar. And there's definitely, I'm seeing a increase, a greater demand for my services, which is fantastic. Companies recognize the importance of healthy employees. And when I say healthy, I mean body as well as mind. I'm actually going to an event tomorrow that I helped organize. It's an annual event. It's celebrating the companies in Massachusetts that have been selected as winners of the Work Well Award. And what that award is for companies that have kind of demonstrated that they are leaders in the field of employee wellness. Could be in their programming, it could be in the way they kind of structure the, work-life balance for their employees, but they are leaders in the field of wellness in Massachusetts. So I'll be going to that tomorrow and very excited to meet the award winners and just kind of to learn more about what they're doing.
Yeah, this topic of longevity, And this intersection between mind, body, health, and longevity is really sort of evident in that whole blue zone study, about how people
Yes.
live a long, long time.
So great.
And they live a long time. My wife, by the way, is Canadian, comes from Nova Scotia, one of those places where all of her grandmas are 104 years old. It's like ridiculous.
Oh,
All of the
wow.
Yeah, no, all of the family lives. It's like being a centenarian is not a big deal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is I think the intersection between how good they feel about themselves, right? And
Hmm.
how their mental health is enhanced by this incredible family connection thing. I mean, I wrote a lot in my last book about the value of people living together. In fact, I have to give
Yes.
I give Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, a huge plug in my speaking things because she took the initiative to flatten out all these regulations so people can build ADUs and live together. And we have been active in the construction of multi-generational living arrangements for years. Now,
Hmm.
we did it for financial reasons because again, I'm clueless about health and wellness. I just lucky to be above ground at this age. But I but what I saw happen in real life was when we took, children and grandparents, put them together in a living arrangement that worked for them, the
Hmm.
amount of stress reduction on young families, which was dramatic. I mean, childcare,
Mm.
affordability, and the amount of purpose-driven living by older folks,
Hmm.
right, really
Yes.
affected their lives dramatically. And I
That's
think,
so interesting.
yeah, and I think in your practice, I mean, you must encounter this that
Oh, no question. No
yeah,
question.
people who have less stress are more productive at work,
Oh, no
right? They
question.
can focus on their jobs. They're not worried
Oh,
about
yeah.
the next oil bill to come in.
No
So
question.
yeah,
Yeah, no question. And I think the employers are recognizing that, which is why there's an increase in employers who are interested in what I have to offer, which is all of these wellness webinars that span mind, body, organization. So yeah, no question. They recognize the fact that their employees are more, like you said, apt to be more productive, less apt to leave the company, and less apt to call in sick, and have those, sick days that they, claim to be sick when they could be mental health related. So yeah, very, very interesting. Lots of
yeah,
research out there.
yeah, really big connection between lack of stress and longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that plays into what we do because it's not like
Yep.
if you run out of money at 89, you can call, AAA like you got a flat. I mean, it's not like that,
Yes,
right? I mean,
exactly.
we have people now, I mean, and we just advocate big time. I just actually recorded a video about this for our YouTube channel. I mean, not doing retirement planning anymore. You have to do longevity planning. You have to plan.
Yes.
If you don't plan on 100, you're making a
Yeah.
mistake
Right,
because,
right. Which is great, right? We're living longer. Yeah,
well,
I'm
it's,
excited to read your book, Paul. It's supposed to be coming on Wednesday, so I'm really eager
yeah.
to read that.
Well, we try to make it really, I have to say, again, with the advice of a lot of people, we tried to sort of get rid of all the fancy financial terms and all that baloney and get it down to, generational thinking. I just interviewed a wonderful, exciting young lady uh, who's graduating from UMass Lowell in May. Women are multitaskers, right? It's just
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I'm married to one who is a multitasker. This young lady is working her way through college. She had no financial help or support. She works in a restaurant. She works in a health club doing enrollments. She's got a music career. She's recording and she's in college at the same time. And you know what?
She's,
She is like the most well-adjusted, healthy, stress-free person.
yeah.
And yet, I've worked with a lot of folks. They retire with millions of dollars, and all they do is worry for the next 15 years until they die. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it's quite amazing. When you talk about health and wellness, tell me a little bit about what what you think of as the mind body, the connection, right?
Mm.
That's most important for these employees and these retirees that you're talking to.
Mm. Oh gosh, there's so much that kind of encompasses that, but I kind of think of the pillars of health, right? Like you mentioned social. Obviously, social connection is so important. And we saw it during the pandemic. People were isolated, depression was on the rise, substance abuse was on the rise on account of that as well, and anxiety. So community is so important. I actually just read a study where they had found that one of the major markers for adolescence and mental health was their relationship with their parents.
Oh,
So, yeah, adolescents that
sure.
had a strong, healthy relationship with their parents fared better than those that did not. I thought that was super, super interesting. So, I guess I would just start first with community, and that community could be anything from neighbors to friends, family, just some kind of social support network. Many people, I think, are feeling maybe more isolated nowadays. I've talked to some of my clients will say, there's neighbors on my street I've never even spoken with, and I think way back when that wasn't the case. The neighbor next door to you usually was someone you knew and you socialized with. Nowadays, people are often kind of in their own kind of situation and they're less apt to be interacting with others. So I guess I would just start with community. And second, I think physical as well as mental wellness. And in terms of physical, of course, there's nutrition, there's healthy eating. That's a huge part. I've been in the field of nutrition many, many years. It's really where I started my wellness journey, is I worked in weight loss centers. So I worked with people who were trying to lose weight. I've pivoted quite a bit from that to many more aspects of wellness. And a lot of my clients are looking to lose weight because Americans, often are looking to, shed some pounds. But the fact that I feel that wellness has taken a bit of a turn from only focusing on weight loss to looking more at lifestyle and healthy longevity versus simply losing weight. It's more about, disease prevention and what is healthy for us, not just how can I lose those 20 pounds. It's being done in a healthy way. So that's what I'm really thrilled that our society has kind of changed their mentality around how people should go about with weight loss.
Interesting
Um,
about weight loss. My wife, Linda, um, if she hadn't met me and gotten dragged into the financial world, she used to, she's a personal trainer and all that, and she used to run
nice.
three Gloria Stevens. Remember those?
Oh
Used to run,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. She used to run three Gloria Stevens. And
great.
yeah, and she has been in wellness and health her whole life, and she's very, very into it.
Yeah.
However, because I dragged her into this financial world, right? Right.
Mm,
She has become sort of an advocate for women especially, not to take a pill for everything. I mean,
right.
this whole GLP-1 thing and taking shots and everything.
Oh,
I don't know how this is all gonna work out.
yeah, it makes
Um,
me nervous, very
yeah,
nervous.
makes her very nervous. And
Yeah.
that's what she always talks about this. It's like the Deepak Chopra thing, it's like the mind sort of
Mm-hmm.
talks to yourselves all day long, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you don't have to seek out a notion and potion for everything. I think that's where a lot of the drug abuse stuff comes from, right?
Yes. No
Because
question.
you have to start thinking healthy before
Mm-hmm.
you actually get healthy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mind
And
over body, yeah.
yeah, and you don't have to be a multimillionaire. Now, we again,
No.
we do have this direct connection that we see that unfortunately, according to the study to the Stanford and the other studies, affluent people do live a bit longer, like 2.8 to 3 years longer, primarily because access is super great. Hey, fresh food's expensive. I mean, there's just no way
Yeah.
around it. When my
Yeah.
daughter goes into Whole Foods, she calls it whole paycheck.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, I
yeah,
know. It's very
yeah,
expensive.
it's more
It
expensive.
is.
It's a problem, and there are food deserts, in certain
Yeah.
neighborhoods where you just can't get to good food. So
Yeah.
nutrition, like real nutrition, and I don't mean
Right.
just taking a one a day, vitamins,
Yeah.
not to plug one a day, but whatever. So I think the mind thing is something that I think is getting more difficult. And the reason I asked the question is that access to mental health services seems to be getting harder and harder and more limited, especially
Yeah.
as the health insurance sort of crisis develops in America. And it is, believe me, having been in the industry, it is a crisis proportions issue, you know,
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
access to the care you need. Uh, and I think when you work with employers and you are going to go in and speak to some 3,000 employees, do you peek deeply into their corporate benefit plans to see if they have great EAPs or great like mental health programs and that sort of thing? Do you peek and look?
Yeah. Sometimes I will take a look. I don't dive too deep into that just because it's kind of out of my scope in a sense, if you will. But I will say most of the companies that I'm talking with typically do have pretty robust EAP programs. There are companies that, recognize the importance of really making sure their employees are, mentally and physically well. So it's usually rare that they don't have an EAP. When I do presentations that are mental health focused, so those would be the talks on stress management, burnout, resilience, depression, anxiety, I do reference the importance of making sure people are aware of what kind of benefits their EAP has to offer. So I will reference that, so yeah.
Yeah, we have a Medicare business, as you probably know if you did some research.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
We
great.
do yeah, we do all these things, including like we're deep into this what they call the annual enrollment period now for people changing their medical plans and their Medicare Advantage plans and also and the
Yep.
topic comes up, which is really a good topic, by the way.
It's
I mean,
good. Yeah.
the topic comes up because again, especially among some older Americans who have been resistant. They thought it was a stigma to go to some kind of counselor of some kind. And I'm always
Right.
joking with them. And I say, you've been going to a financial psychiatrist for 25 years. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you go to, like, if you're having issues with maybe you lost your partner? We have a lot
Yeah.
of people who are suddenly single
Oh, yeah,
and
for sure.
they need to get a little bit of um, input from some professionals, let's
Right.
say,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
they have unfortunately I would say in this day and age for our clientele, which again we're in here I am talking to you from the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts, and our national average income is higher and our net worth is higher, and they end up just writing checks out of their pocket. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we are very fortunate in this geographic zone. But since you work with companies all over the country, that's why I asked the question. I
Yeah.
don't think that people in Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas have the
Hmm.
same access to, um, let's say, mental health
Right.
providers as we
Yep.
do here, for sure. Right?
Right. Oh, yeah,
So,
definitely not as much access. We're so lucky around here for sure.
oh God,
So lucky.
it's so great. It's so
I
great. So,
know. I know. We're
yeah.
so fortunate.
So you speak at a lot of different organizations, and you speak in retirement communities. I'm particularly interested in that because I think uh, you must get a lot of questions and feedback. So tell me, what are the concerns
Mm.
of our older population? I hate some of this. I don't like the term senior
Yeah.
citizens. Now that I am one and my hair's gone gray, I mean, I don't know what the right
Yeah.
term is, but
Yeah.
I'm a boomer, or my son
Older
calls.
populations.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
calls me an
Yeah.
unk. Do you know what an unk is, right? I
Unk.
mean,
Oh.
unk, UNC. Look it up sometime. So if your children call you an unk, it's a compliment, by the way.
Oh, good to know. Okay. I will
Yeah,
look
so
that up then. I'm
don't
writing
be
it down.
shocked if your college student, my son just graduated, got his master's at Georgetown, and he's very
Oh,
hip.
nice.
He's one of those
Good.
hip guys, right? And he lives in
Great
New York.
school.
Oh yeah, it's a great school. He went to Trinity and Hartford, and then he went to
Oh,
Georgetown.
nice.
But he is, he's in that time zone, right? Where he has to translate the language for me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he said to me the other day, Dad, you're such an unk. And I went,
Oh, geez.
I gave him the RCA Victor dog, like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Ah,
So it's a good term. Anyway,
okay,
so
I'll look it up. I'll look it
yeah,
up.
look that one up. It will be maybe, especially when you're talking to some of these retirement communities, you will be able to get a smile out of it.
Oh,
But
good.
I'm curious for you,
Yeah.
Cynthia.
Yeah.
The feedback I think would be great. Tell me
Yeah.
what the people in retirement life, let's call it,
Yeah.
are most concerned about.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when I was asked to present last month, the topic was eating for longevity. And I said to myself, oh, interesting. I wonder if they will really be interested in this topic, and they were. They asked me so many questions. They were so tuned into what I was saying. I was so pleased. I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, I didn't know if they would just kind of be wondering when it would be over and they were bored, but they were so interested in the content. They came up after, they asked me questions. It was great. Next month, I'm talking with some groups on um, grief, healing from grief and loss. That's
Okay.
something I've talked with in the corporate world. and was asked to present about that topic, which obviously is very applicable to that population. So I'll be focusing on grief and loss and resilience and kind of moving forward, through tragedy. So that'll be a very interesting conversation. But I do think that the retirement communities and just older populations are doing what they can to really try to preserve both their physical and their mental health. I think there's more knowledge in those communities about the importance of doing so.
Yeah, I think that well, some of our clientele over the years have been the builders of these retirement communities around the greater Boston area and elsewhere. And literally they can't build them fast enough. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we're making 10,000 senior citizens every day, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But we're just like a lot.
Right.
This age wave is just bubbling forward. But I will
Yeah.
tell you, the the thing that I've seen, which I'm not a mental health counselor or a medical professional, but we do see among our clients that getting into either a continuing care community or starting with maybe an over 55 or something makes it a much easier transition when they do become suddenly single, widowed or widower, because
Hmm.
the community that they build up, they say men never have any friends, when guys die, their wives have 10 friends, and when wives die, nobody comes to the house, like, because guys have no friends, right? But it's true. I mean, it's really true. Men don't form those kind of relationships, but our most successful widowers, I guess a weird
Interesting.
term. Our most
Yeah, that's interesting.
successful widowers are those that got themselves into a community as a couple, and then when
Hmm.
the eventual thing happened,
Yep.
they actually had no sense of isolation. I mean, the sense of isolation in the study, by the way, and I forget it was a Princeton study, which I think I quoted somewhere in my longevity book. Like
Yeah.
the greatest fear of the aging population is not cancer, which people always think it's the C word, right?
Yeah.
It's loneliness. Number one.
Loneliness.
Number one. When they did
Mm.
a huge survey of aging Americans, that is the number one fear, right?
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that is a solvable problem, by the way.
Yes,
And I hope
it
someday
is.
cancer will be a solvable problem, but it's not quite
Someday
today. Yeah, I know. And again, I give all the kudos to the medical professionals that we work with over the years. They are trying very hard. I mean, they
they
are
are.
really
I
trying
know.
right now, especially against all odds, to do research, and they're trying. It's really an uphill battle. But
It is. I know.
on the other end, on your end, I would say that the cure for loneliness is out there. And
Yes.
as I say, we are very pro community living. We're
Yep.
very pro multi-gen. By the way, 35% of all the homes being sold in America today are sold to multi-generational buyers. In
Oh,
fact,
wow.
my own brother, who's downsizing from his house in Sudbury, to go into their next phase, because of course his grandchildren are now in Southern California, and
Okay.
now you can't accumulate enough miles. I mean, they're just going back and forth, right? So uh, they're going to be moving to Ventura, which is where the little baby is. But guess what? It's a young couple with kids and their aging parents, right?
Mm.
Because multi-generational living makes terrific financial sense. I mean, it's
Yes.
just such a great financial win. And of course, if you like your kids and you have to have that kind of relationship. But it's a super incredible mental health solution for the isolation issue,
Hmm. Yeah.
childcare, which is like an enormous worry bead for young families. I mean, the child care issue, which we've created, unfortunately, ourselves, because the
Yeah.
cost of child care is enormous, and very few companies are forward thinking enough to know that if they have a child care facility on site, like they do in Maynard at the old mill in Maynard there where Digital used to be, they have a
Hmm.
child care facility for those companies. It means that parents of young children can not be worrying all day long, right? And leaving work early to race off to make it to the daycare before they hit their hourly limit and all that. So I think that that whole topic of stress reduction for families centers around aging care and child care and where they live. right?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
So,
Definitely.
so in your
Interesting.
yeah, so in your practice, people that are aging were concerned about food, right? Did that become an embarrassing topic with the communities that they were in that didn't have healthy food, or what?
Yeah. So obviously that's something that all populations will face. I don't interact too often with situations like that. Um, it just hasn't come up too often for me.
And the grief and loss for our purposes, is that largely widows and widowers who've been married for a long period of time, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden this tragedy falls on them, and
Yeah.
they're
So, yeah, when I do my talks on grief and loss, that's always what people just kind of assume. It's just like the traditional view of grief and loss is someone who you've lost, typically, a parent, a spouse, even a child. There's an amazing place in Framingham that I'm meeting with next week, actually, called Jeff's Place, where their whole focus is on supporting children who've lost a parent. So I'll be helping them out in different capacities. But in terms of when I present on grief and loss, I always mention the fact that when we think of grief and loss, it can definitely be what we're just describing now, the loss of a parent, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a partner. But it also can be other kinds of grief and loss. It can be something as simple, but also as big as a child moving out of the house who's going off to college. Or I have a client who fell and she no longer can play tennis. She's kind of unable to really move around. So she has lost the ability to play her favorite sport and to do her favorite activity. So that is a form of grief and loss as well. So there's a whole kind of continuum of grief and loss. And I go into this in my presentation and in my coaching. And I'm working with people who are struggling with the loss of a child that they may have that they've lost, passed away, or a spouse. But I'm dealing with all kinds of grief and loss.
Yeah, you actually jumped ahead of me by about two laps, because now my next question for you, no, this is great. My next question for you on my little list of things to talk about is that the intersection of what you do for a living and financial things uh, is getting more and more interwoven in our practice. What we have seen, and I'd like to hear from you about this, is the benefit of people continuing to work beyond the traditional retirement age and all, and how much healthier it keeps them, right? Not just physically, but mentally, by being productive and active and working. And the fastest
Mhm.
growing population of workers in America are octogenarians.
Oh, interesting. That's
People,
fascinating.
yeah, people who don't want to stop. Now,
Hmm.
Can you
That's
talk about
fascinating.
can you talk about that a little bit? Because grief and loss also includes losing your career and losing your job.
Oh,
And a
yeah, no
lot of people,
question.
yeah, a
No
lot of people,
question.
I will tell you,
Hmm.
I'll
Hmm.
give you a couple of our famous client quotes over this, but when people have had a great career their whole lives, and then they wake up that morning and nobody wants them,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
quite traumatic for them.
No
So
question. It's a
you
shock to the
confronted.
system. Yeah. I mean, I actually have just recently been asked to present on how to embrace midlife and deal with aging. So it's kind of a popular topic. There's a book that's been published called Embracing Midlife. I've met the author. It's fantastic. And, kind of the premise of the book and a lot of my presentations on this very topic are just like the book says, embracing midlife, recognizing this is a new time. I do a lot of mindset work as well. So helping people to shift how they're looking at something and look at it in a positive way. So, people will think, oh, the later years, it'll be so horrible, X, Y, and Z for whatever reason it is. But looking at it in a different way, looking at the new opportunities that actually will open up. That whole saying, when one door closes, others open, I firmly believe in that. And I have spoken with so many people that choose to retire, whatever age. I've even talked to people who choose to retire in their 50s. I don't place judgment on anybody. It all depends on whatever that person's looking for to do in their life. But really trying to recognize that this is a big change. Obviously, as we grow older, we're going to be experiencing a lot of different things. But look, it's all in the way you look at that and trying to kind of change your way of thinking and thinking about what new opportunities are in store for you. It might be a new career. Who knows?
I have to tell you, you're right on. You are right on because it's the reason why we say stop doing retirement planning and start doing longevity planning because this retirement ideal or something that again you're a bit younger than I am and you probably didn't grow up with the goal of the white patent leather shoes and golf clubs and going to Florida and having dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean there was sort of a 50s worker retirement goal, which I think works for some people. As you said, we don't sort of like judge anybody about it. But how much pickleball can you play? I mean,
Right,
really. I mean,
right.
and again, at a certain level, I have a great quote for you from a great client of ours. Interesting. He's on his third act now, at 80 years old. And he says, if you retire, you better have something to do.
Mm,
Because in the absence of purpose, whatever that purpose is, whatever that purpose is, a lot of bad things happen. I mean, there's
mm.
overeating, there's overweight, there's overdrinking, there's alcoholism, there's like,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, literally, I
big time.
actually I was down in Florida at the Villages. Some good friends and associates of mine that run the financial office there, which is the largest retirement community in America. It's like, I don't know,
Yeah,
75,000 people or something. They just
yeah,
have rampant social disease. They have
yep,
rampant marital dissolutions in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's like it's a ridiculous
yeah.
high,
I've
high
heard
school
about it.
high
Yeah,
school romance situation. But it's because people have lots of time
yep.
and no
Exactly.
focus, and at least
Exactly.
a lot of unhealthy stuff happens. Yeah.
Definitely. No
And
question.
I will tell you, if you follow our podcast along and take a peek, you'll see I did an
Yeah, I've
interview.
listened to a couple of the episodes. They're great.
Ron Lang, who he's the guy who designed the spacesuit that Neil Armstrong wore to the moon. He he and I did the podcast. It's actually a very long topic, so he chopped it all up. But he's just I think for his 90th birthday started his 25th company. Uh, and
Wow.
he's vibrant, healthy, active, wonderful guy, um, who is like we hold him up as the greatest longevity example ever. Of course, for
Mm.
entrepreneurs too, he's a serial entrepreneur.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's fabulous.
and I actually met him because I hired him as my business advisor for my firm 20 years ago when he was 70 years old.
Oh,
And
that's
I said to him,
great.
how long are you going to do this? And he said, why would I ever stop? I love what I do.
Oh, he loves what
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah. And
So great. Oh yeah,
so so
that's
this
great.
idea of working longer, and I'm sure you're probably well aware of this. I mean, working is just one purpose. I have another fellow who's a very successful retiree, and all he does now is he coaches young folks, and
Hmm.
getting into their career. I mean, it's a pro bono kind of life coaching, if you want to call it.
Hmm.
But not life coaching about your wellness and your romantic life. It's all about starting your job life.
Right,
And he
right.
loves it. He loves talking to new grads. He went to WPI, so he's a
Hmm.
local guy, and
Yep.
he loves to talk about to grads. So,
Mm.
working is medicine, by the way. I mean,
Oh
that's a
yes, no question. People
yeah,
do say that for sure. It's an escape. It provides an escape.
yeah. And I do think
Definitely.
so.
Definitely.
We had experience with one fella who, and again, this feeds into your grief and loss studies. I'm sure that you're doing. We had a fellow who was very upset. Actually, he broke into tears in my office. I mean, he was a long-term employee of a very large company in Massachusetts, and so he was retiring at 70 years old. And there wasn't anything negative, economically or health-wise. He had none of that. But what brought him to tears in my office was the fact that he offered to take his retirement and all that, and then come back on a pro bono basis and sort of transfer the knowledge that he had built up from 40 years in this company to younger people, and they didn't even want him to come back.
Hmm.
And I
Wow.
felt, and I felt like, however they handle that in HR or whatever, It's
Mm,
another whole topic. But
yes.
and it's true, a lot of his information might have been so out of date that they didn't want him negatively affecting the young people taking over. I get
Yep.
that. I
Yep.
get it because
Right.
this technology has moved so fast. A lot of retirees do not have useful data to transfer,
Right. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But in his particular case, he was personally, I don't even want to say offended, Cynthia. I don't know the right word, let down
Mm.
or
Oh, I'm
disappointed.
disappointed, I'm sure. Very
And
disappointed.
to see a 70-year-old guy get upset about that, and he
Yeah,
he
that's hard. That's really rough. That
yeah,
really is.
yeah. And
That really
so
is.
I came home that day. That was the day that I told my wife Linda about this, and she said, "You are a financial psychiatrist." I mean, it's like there's a
Mm.
lot of psychofinancial counseling that goes
Oh,
on.
yeah, for sure.
I
For
mean,
sure.
yeah, in this particular
Definitely.
so this particular guy actually ended up, by the way, getting another job.
Oh, well,
So
that was something good. Oh, good. I'm glad to
we
hear that.
yeah, we actually worked together for many years, and it had to be that sense of being worth something, and people needed him, and
Hmm.
it was the whole thing about I think in the blue zones they talk about you have to have a reason to get up in the morning, right?
Yeah, for sure. For
Right.
sure.
So one more
Definitely.
thing. I won't keep you much longer, but I did want to sort of just run through a couple of things. So you are available to counsel from just hearing to corporations, but also individuals.
Yes, I do
Okay.
one-on-one group. I do group work and I also do presentations and webinars for companies.
Okay. Webinars for companies and individuals, so people can hook up with you and hire you, and you can help talk them through some of these. What did Gail Sheehy call them? Passages in her famous book,
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah,
Right.
I'm a coach. I'm a social worker and I'm a coach. I'm a resilience coach, I'm a mindset coach. So I work with people on just a variety of issues. And like I said, I work with groups. Work with individuals, groups, and corporations.
Yeah. And so, what do you think of this idea that keeps getting run by us in the financial industry to put together um, people with similar situations to promote, like, a widows group or widowers? I mean, do you think that that's helpful or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, I think, are you referring to maybe I think they're often called ERGs in companies,
Yeah.
employee resource groups. A lot of the big companies have those. Um, I personally think that they're fantastic. I think support groups can be very helpful for people. And those have been around for a long time. I mean, I think about when I was trying to have a baby, for instance, I was going through infertility and I joined an infertility support group. And it was very helpful for me to have that support. And I'm now working with groups of women who are going through infertility and struggling with that,
Ah,
and which is great because I've been through it and I know what they're going through and now I'm leading the group. So it's kind of crazy full circle, right? But I'm a big fan of support groups. I think they can be really, really helpful for a lot of reasons.
yeah. I have a feeling, and the reason that I'm asking you about this is I've been approached about a couple different topics. One of them happens to be divorced women.
Okay.
But I will tell you, having worked with a lot of families over the years, that is a really huge issue that happens in people's lives, right? However, I do think that the folks in the financial industry that are promoting that um, aren't really fully sort of qualified to do that. I'm that imposter syndrome. I don't want to do anything I'm not qualified to do. So I do think that marriage dissolution counseling or whatever the hell they call it now, for groups of men and women who've had their life turned upside down. I mean, they do need lots of assistance, all right?
Oh,
And
I'm
yes,
sure.
and a lot of it is financial. So I mean, from my standpoint, a lot of it is financial.
Yep,
But
definitely.
I was curious whether you actually had an experience of working in a group setting with more than one person, like 10 divorcees or 10
Mm,
widows or something like that. Is it more productive than working with one at a time, or has it
mm.
just become a lot of sort of a bitch session, for lack of a better term, right?
No, that's a great question. You know what? I think so much of that depends on the group, honestly. It depends on the situation. I think there's definitely a lot of benefits to doing group work, but then also the one-on-one can be beneficial. And sometimes people do both. Sometimes people are in a group and they also have one-on-one. There's no harm in doing that, especially if you're going through a super hard time, having the support of a group and others who are going through whatever it is you're struggling with, as well as that one-on-one coach or therapist or psychologist, I think is just a great strategy. So whatever resources work, some people really don't like the group setting. They don't feel comfortable. You can obviously find Zoom groups now, which is great, and you can be anonymous and not show your face. So that can be an option for people as well. There's people I know that, are doing that because they just want the anonymity of that. But sometimes people want the one-on-one, so it's so personal, honestly. I don't see any real answer to that one.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you say, and you will probably, hopefully agree with me on this, that we're probably better off when we encounter those situations in the financial world. And now, because this is going to be online, I'm talking to all the financial advisors out there, of which we interact with a lot of them. We're better off like handling the financial issues and really sending them to someone like you for all of the non-financial, either post-divorce
Exactly.
or whatever.
The
Yeah,
psychological component.
the
Yeah,
non-financial
I
stuff.
yeah, I don't touch financial things at all. I don't touch
Yeah,
that. That's out of
no,
my scope.
yeah,
I
and
have
that's
my
not.
MBA, but I don't touch financial stuff.
Well, that's why I say I don't want to touch any. But and again, having had plenty of tears shed in my office over different things, and it's
Mm,
usually over these traumatic life events, and a lot of times we don't really know what to tell them, I mean,
right.
we can say, here's the plan to put you back on sound, financial footing, or
Yeah,
as a single mom, get your kids through high school, college, whatever, which is a huge traumatic, stressful thing. But,
right.
I
Exactly.
I do think that their needs go beyond financial. I think that's
Oh, yes. Oh,
the
no
best.
question. They're interrelated for sure. I've had people in the finance world reach out to me and ask if I want to partner with them on doing workshops. They'll do the financial piece, I do the health and wellness piece because they are so linked. So yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so I am going to let you go. I see our little clock is ticking, and I've burned up, some of your valuable
Yeah.
day,
No, I
right?
appreciate you having me on, Paul. Thank you so
Uh,
much. I'm excited to get your book in 2 days.
all right,
I'll report back on that one.
all right.
And just really appreciate your time today. It was great
Well,
to
this
talk
is
with
great. It
you.
was great to meet you. I want to tell everybody that is watching, and hopefully lots of people will watch, that if you are thrown off by the Maria's iPad, don't worry. Don't worry.
Sorry about that. I forgot to
Oh,
change
no,
the
it's
name.
okay. We'll put a little piece of black tape
I
over it
know
over
I
here.
forgot to change that
No,
name.
no, it's okay. You
I'm
can.
thrown off today. I'm at my parents' house on Cape Cod today, so I'm thrown off.
Well, that's a good thing. You're having some interparent stuff. I found that in my book. It's very valuable. It's good for you. So
Yes.
contact us at Smart Financial for this and anybody else that you see on our podcasts or YouTubes or whatever. And our staff is really good at getting people together with the folks that we've had the great pleasure of interviewing. And I want to thank Cynthia Conigliaro very much. And I think we
Thank
all learned a
you.
lot. And I'll see you all again next time on Smart Financial. Thank you.
Thank you.